And welcome into another episode of Tiger Territory, part of the Foul Territory Network, a Detroit Tigers podcast. I'm Kieran Steckley. With me, as always, is a man who turned down an opportunity to do Love Island so he could do this show. He is Cody Stavenhagen. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I didn't realize there's an episode of Love Island like every day. Is that right? Someone told me that.
That's what I'm
I
told.
figured it was like a once a week thing. It's every day. That's insane. That actually makes me want to watch it more. I've never seen a single episode.
Well, again, my wife told me there's a guy that looks like Carpenter, but kind of a reality TV show type look to him, if that makes sense. And somebody, I can't remember who, but someone commented on X for me is like, well, let us know when this guy gets eliminated. Maybe Carrie will bust out of the slump. I thought that was pretty good. So I'm sorry I can't remember your name, but that was pretty good. We'll talk about Carrie Carpenter a little bit, but we do have some. I mean, if someone just came off the Love Island, if that's how it works, I don't know how it works. How do we explain this week, Cody, in Tigers baseball? Because that's a tropical show, and we had a lot of rain this week, and then the Tigers also did not get that great of pitching, but then Riley Greene's like really hot, and you got Wenceel Perez doing some really cool things here. Like, what's the lead for the person who just got off Love Island? It's like, tell me what happened in Detroit Tigers land this week. What's the lead?
Yeah, I think the lead is still the pitching being borderline in shambles right now. Jack Flaherty has had two really bad starts in a row. Gave up 7 runs and then 8 runs. That's hard to do, and it's certainly concerning. Casey Mize on Sunday was pitching really well, left the game. His last pitch just didn't look right. The velo was way down. The report coming out of the game is it was just a cramp. So that's good news. I'll also point out 1 year and 8 days ago, Casey Mize left to start with a cramp and proceeded to miss 2 months. So we'll see. Hopefully it is just a cramp and not another hamstring injury. That would be concerning. Even if it was just a minor thing, you really kind of can't afford to have Casey Mize miss a start because your rotation is struggling otherwise. I mean, I guess Cater Montero or maybe someone else, Troy Melton, missed a start. You know, you have someone who could come up. The Tigers are skipping Montero's turn in the rotation due to the off day. So that helps, but still, your pitching has been thin. Reese Olson has to do another rehab start. Jack Flaherty, been a little bit of a roller coaster all year. That roller coaster is way down in the valley right now. Suddenly it's looking like Scooble and pitching chaos again, except pitching chaos is not working anymore. The opener strategy has not been effective, and your bullpen obviously is what it is right now. That's kind of the reason they're skipping Montero. They wanted to bring up someone else in the pen, so Dylan Smith's around, but Brent Herter had been one of your more consistent guys. He's gotten roughed up lately. You talk about the plateau, you talk about the tough times that we're coming through a season. I think this is it. I think we are here. And I don't necessarily think it's reason to panic or jump ship. Like, the Tigers are in great position. But every couple episodes here, like we've been on a trend, an upward trend, and it's like a trend for the urgency of which the Tigers are going to have to go get pitching at the deadline. I think it's even more a necessity, the deeper we get into this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to point out, well, number one, you got 49 wins on the season, right? So, like, it's, we can keep that in mind. Number two, this shaped up to be one of your just, like, circumstantially tougher stretches, right? With the rain out, the doubleheader, going into the travel, 3 a.m., plane arrival, Florida, humidity, just like eating everybody up. And then, you had another rain delay. And then even Sunday, you had a rain delay. And so, like, a lot of these things actually did kind of feed into the chaotic element. It's still, I'm gonna stick with Casey Mize and then kind of get to the other stuff. Like, Mize was in position to be the new stabilizer. We kind of like metaphorically assign new stabilizers in the pitching rotation, basically based on who's healthy and then who kind of steps up. It used to be Flaherty. We'll talk about him too. But Mize was putting together like a a pretty dang nice outing. His pitch count was low. He was into the 6th inning, 1 earned run. I mean, that, it was a long earned run now, but he had that and 1 double. I think that's basically the hard contact if memory serves. 5 strikeouts. I don't know if I said that. And so like he looked like the Casey Mize back on track element after a couple of sticky starts, and it's like I was prepared to come in here and be like, Casey Mize to the rescue to just kind of stabilize the emotions of
Right.
the thing, and then you just don't know until we still don't know, but at least we have good news now, and the fact that we're talking about Casey Mize in that way leads to it's definitely chaotic pitching. It's not the cool thing to say pitching chaos. It's chaotic pitching because you had a guy that was kind of rolling. He comes out with what we don't know at the time, but now they're calling it a cramp, and he obviously has his injury history. And then, Brant Herter had a week that I'm sure he would love to forget. And, your 2 openers that you use in the weekend, I'm including the doubleheader on Thursday for, quote unquote weekend. The 2 openers that you use over the weekend did not get the job done, put you in holes, which is like the exact opposite of the purpose of the opener. And that's not me like criticizing the method. I'm just saying like that's what happened. So it does not feel very stable because the whole thing is pitching chaos is actually relatively stable. You know exactly what's going to happen. You have Skubal, and then you have everybody else that AJ Hinch is going to use in advantageous situations. And it got to the point where it's like it's going to work out more than it's not going to work out. I'm not saying we've reached the other end of that spectrum, but it doesn't feel stable right now.
I think we've just seen the part where, hey, this is what happens when it doesn't work out.
Here's a great example. Today, Tigers, have that 3-1 lead thanks to Wenceel Perez in the 7th inning, and AJ goes to Tommy Kahnle. Only the 2nd time this year, Cody, that he had come in the 7th inning. I know there's 2 outs. I understand all that. But, that was a sense of urgency move by AJ Hinch because he did not want to drop 4 in a row. He did not want to waste, a good starting outing and then the timely hitting that he got from Wenceel and then the torque walk also to set up the 2-run opportunity. So, there's your urgency. And even Vest at the end, it's getting a little loose. So,
I was going to say, is it kind of weird Will Vest didn't throw this weekend? They lost 2 games. It wasn't a save situation Saturday, but I don't.
Vest came in. He was going to come in today, I think, if the 9th inning doesn't, explode.
The one time we've seen Will Vest post-injury scare, the stuff was really good. The stuff was basically what it had been. He punched out 3 guys, but he was spraying the ball a lot. It was 14 strikes, 12 balls, and some of the misses were like bad misses to the point where I was like, just something to watch. But the stuff was still there. So I don't know. Didn't see him this weekend. Probably more circumstance of how the games went. Also worth noting Carlos Hernandez, who had a very nice first outing with the Tigers, his 2nd outing, both I think results and execution not so nice. So unsure how to feel about him.
You just right now outside of those, the 2 headliners of that bullpen, and we'll give respect to Chase Lee as well. But outside of that, where's your confidence level with any of these guys? And by the way, that's
high, Kieran.
That's part of it. That's relievers. You think Holton's going to put together a good stretch and then we'll kind of forget about this or laugh about it later. Herter had been excellent for 5 weeks. And it just, this is the life. This is the chaotic life. And I think those that are criticizing the Tigers, because there are some out there right now for, kind of still employing this opener thing. And, even so, we haven't talked about Sawyer Gibson-Long, who, it's like, well, he didn't give up a whole lot of hard contact, but the times that he did give hard contact, it was quite hard. it's
No,
an
I
example
don't
of
think the
being different.
strategy is
Yeah.
at fault. I think it's
No,
just
I don't think so either.
guys aren't
But
really
still,
executing
people
right
are
now.
still doing it though. Yeah, people are
Yeah.
still like it's not cute anymore. So there is some more criticism, especially when it's not working.
Mhm.
I don't have a huge issue with it, but but from a confidence standpoint, you'd like for Herter to be able to get out a lefty late in lineup to begin a game, and then Holton to not throw 92 middle like 3 times. That would be ideal. So all that chaos, and then we'll talk about the. I don't know if it's chaos, if it's just a roller coaster, Cody, but we're going to talk about Jack Flaherty. But first, a word from our sponsors.
People liked this last time, so we're going to do it again. Read one of the fantastic, unique, creative dishes on HelloFresh. Creamy Alfredo truffle cavatappi pasta?
Cavatappi, maybe? But I'll just go with the Indian-inspired chicken paired with turmeric rice. That sounds awesome. Everything about this is delicious, fresh, comes in a little bag, and I like to cook, so I like to chop up the ingredients. I like to throw stuff in the pan, mix it up. It makes me feel like I'm doing something, Scott, and they always come out amazing.
Yes, you can be a star at home with America's #1 meal kit. Make your summer enjoyable and delicious by signing up for HelloFresh at HelloFresh.com/FT10FM and get 10 free meals with a free item for life. That's HelloFresh.com/FT10FM for 10 free meals and a free item in every box. 1 per box with an active subscription. Free meals are applied as a discount on the first box. New subscribers only. Varies by plan.
All right, the whole Jack Flaherty thing, Cody, just it's almost like the AP course of I don't even want to say this. I don't mean this to be disrespectful, but it's like the advanced version. Like if freshman C-ball was how we would talk about Matt Manning, like the varsity version is like the Jack Flaherty experience, where it's just like because he's so much better, and that's what I mean by that. Like he's so much better. I'm not comparing the two. But in terms of just like, it's gotten to the point where we might have to do the segment tongue in cheek, where it's like, "What's up with Jack Flaherty?" Right, you know what I mean? Like that's right. What I mean. I hope I explained that correctly. But 2 starts, talk about bullpen stuff. 2 starts, he only managed like 7 innings and 15 earned runs. It's funny. He had 3 and 3 balls and walks and strikeouts and 5 and 5. So it's like So it meshes out there evenly, but he just was not sharp. And, we've done the velocity talk before today too. I don't necessarily want to talk about the velocity part here, but every time Jack Flaherty is off, I just keep thinking like, man, he is a nearly 30-year-old pitcher who like, we talk about him like he's 23 sometimes in terms of just like learning the, consistent mechanics and like and all that stuff and so like that's not like a huge point that I have, but I just feel like that's worth noting with the highs of Flaherty and the lows of Flaherty. That's another thing to kind of look for, I think, with him is that like he's been active, like supposedly he's not injured, hopefully he's not injured, but man, when it's down, man, it's down. He has some of the prettiest hangers on this team.
Yeah.
When he's missing, he's missing.
Yeah, it's tough to boil it down to one thing, I think, but command is a big part of it. Command's a big part of it because the stuff isn't necessarily premium right now. But you go look at how stuff plays in like the stuff plus models. So what this means, basically you take, here's the fastball he throws, here's the spin, here's the angle, here's how this performs against the league, based on thousands of pitches that are thrown in major league games. His stuff is pretty much identical to what it was throughout the course of last year. Now, obviously, he was a lot better in the first half than the second half last year, but stuff pretty much there. You look at location plus, which is a pretty similar thing. It measures location. That's down a little bit. And I don't think he has a lot of margin for error because too often he's thrown 92. When we've seen Jack Flaherty have good starts, the one start, 3-4 outings ago where he was really on and he was dotting pitches low in the zone, like the command was on. And then these past 2 outings, like the stuff wasn't great and you had some hangers. and you had some fastball. I mean, Ellie De La Cruz hit one out that was, 90, up over the plate. Maybe if you're throwing that 96, you can get away with it. 90, you can't. And then it's like, okay, well, why we always hear with Jack, the way his body moves. Well, why is he struggling to move his body consistently? We know he's a great athlete. We know he's very talented. Still, I'm like, you got to hope everything's okay with him physically. There's a good pitcher in there. But the ups and downs are, again, why I've kind of struggled to be like, do you really feel good about him as the number 2 on this staff? I still feel very good about Jack Flaherty as a major league pitcher, as a member of this staff. But is he a number 2? You zoom out, take this season in aggregate, he hasn't been. He's had glimpses of it, but in the big picture, so far this year, hasn't been to that level.
It's not every day or every year or whatever that you get a player that kind of validates every single thing that's been written or said about him. like if you were doubting Jack Flaherty's validity as a long-term pitching free agent contract person, like we've seen that this year. Mm-hmm. If you thought he's worthy of getting that multi-year, high dollar not extension or contract and free agency, we've also seen that. And if you think he's both of those people,
yeah,
we've been proven right pretty much too. And also in a weird way, kind of like smart teams love to have Jack Flaherty because he was almost like, obviously the Tigers signed him last year. Tigers smart team. He was a trade target of the New York Yankees. I don't know if you heard of them. They usually do pretty well. And then he was obviously traded acquired by, I'll phrase it, by the Los Angeles Dodgers. And then, obviously signs again with the Tigers. So smart teams like Jack Flaherty. So like I want to say that, like, I guess we've been pretty negative about him, but smart teams like Jack Flaherty, I want to note that, but man, it is something. I would love to be in the pitching lab when they discuss the Flaherty stuff, because I'm sure that's a lot. I'm sure that's like catnip to baseball nerds just trying to figure out everything like this. I would love to be a fly on the wall for that.
Yeah, he was seen pregame Sunday, basically just going through his program with Robin Lund, just standing over there watching every single motion. Robin Lund knows what he's doing, so maybe he can help get Jack right. It is interesting. Jack just made his 15th start, which clicks in a $20 million option for next year. I was certainly in favor of bringing Jack Flaherty back. It was great for the Tigers to get him on a team-friendly deal. Unless he is lights out from here on out, I think he's going to be opting in for that $20 million. And then it's like, well, how do you feel about that? I think, assuming he's healthy, I actually feel pretty good about it. You give this guy a full off season, iron some things out. We know there's still a really good version of Jack Flaherty in there that maybe we can see more this season. There's a lot of ball left to be played, and certainly I'd be willing to take a chance on him over a lot of other guys out there for next year.
Yeah. I could just repeat what I just said previously about smart teams liking him, and that would be like my answer to that.
I mean, would you rather have Jack Flaherty for 20 or Alex Cobb again for 15? I'll take Jack.
That was a hanging slider over the plate to do that one. Yeah, and you price in inflation, with free agents in general. So like that will probably be 20 could be the new number anyway next year for starting pitchers of a certain resume. So yeah. Well, and by the way, that's a credit to Jack Flaherty that he hit that on June 21st or whatever. So like that was part of his mark. That was part of the trade deadline stuff. Was like, is he healthy? Is he this? And he is. At least in that facet, kind of answered those questions. We'll see what happens the rest of the season. As we always say, there's a lot of ball left to be played. We are going to talk about someone that we talked about a lot in our last episode, but he's just been hotter since then. But first, a word from our sponsors.
Well, if you're a normal human, you can't speak English to your pup. But What you can do to understand what they love, which is Spot and Tango Unkibble, is to see how they react when you put the Unkibble in the bowl. And my pup, Penelope, loves it. So does Bella.
Well, Bella speaks Spanish, so she says, muy bien. I love this stuff.
She says, wow, Dad, thanks for creating a custom plan based on my age, weight, breed, and activity level. You nailed it. And also, it's made with 100% whole fresh ingredients like real USDA meats, fruits, and veggies, but it's 40% less expensive than frozen food. So upgrade your pet's bowl with Spot and Tango Unkibble. And for a limited time, go to spotandtango.com/foul and use code FOUL for 50% off your first order. That's spotandtango.com/foul, code FOUL to get 50% off your first order.
All right. Well, speaking of repeating ourselves, Cody, we spent a lot of time talking with Austin Jackson late last week about Riley Greene and our little, is he, this case for him to be an all-star? And I posed the question, he's an all-star. I think we feel pretty confident about that, but is he a star? Right. And I think both you two gave very calm and convincing arguments. That's we like what we see. We want to see more of it. Consistency, blah, blah, blah. I mean, you guys aren't wrong, but it was just hella timing that since we had that conversation, which I encourage everybody to go back and listen to that episode so you can hear what Austin Jackson had to say about Riley Greene. Always been a big fan of his game. Riley went 5 for 9. He had 2 home runs and 2 doubles and made, 6 highlight reel-esque catches in the outfield, including one where he halfway went over a wall. He ran down one in the left center field gap, kind of beat Parker to the spot a little bit. Not easy to do. And a couple other slides. And it was a highlight reel weekend for Riley Greene. And if there was a reason for me to be really glad that the Tigers weren't swept, is that I didn't want to have these awesome Riley Greene games where you're getting your ass kicked, and then you lose, and then you get swept. You see what I'm saying? So yeah. That's a little reassuring. Obviously, he's a Florida guy. He played like a star. He played like a star this weekend. So we'll give him credit. We don't have a whole lot of new analysis, but man, when he's on, is he fun? Is he fun to watch?
Riley Greene since May 1st, hitting 301, 931 OPS, 11 bombs. It's interesting to remember, Kieran, when he was drafted and even when he was kind of coming up through the system, a big question, how much power does he have? We know he can hit. Can he hit for power? Is he a 30 homer guy? Is he a 25 homer guy? Is he a 15 homer guy? Riley Greene is on pace to have a 30-plus homer season, and he continues to show he's got plenty of pop. Another reason I'm trying to cut back on criticizing the strikeouts, because if you can get the 30 homer version of Riley Greene and he's still hitting for average, which he is, it'd be cool if he walked a little more, struck out a little less. I think I want the version of Riley with showing this kind of power.
Yeah, well, I think about it similarly to this is an extreme example, but were you gonna get on Barry Sanders for losing yards? He lost the most yards in NFL history. Again, extreme example, but you see what I'm saying? Where it's you got to accept the whole package, in my opinion. You can work around the margins, you can get better about this, but what he's doing right now is utterly ridiculous. I'm trying to see what his 141 OPS plus. We don't have to go through every number because they've all improved since last time we talked. But again, go listen to that podcast for the case for Riley Greene to be an all-star, and doing it in a way where he is very much carrying this offense, because a lot of people aren't hitting the ball all that well right now. And maybe that 9th inning will spurn some of them. But Riley Greene, 2.1 WAR, he when he is dialed in, I would take him. There's not 5 guys I think I take at the plate in the American League when he's dialed in.
Aaron Judge, Bobby Witt, Jose Ramirez. Who else?
You put Cal in there?
Well, maybe. And you talk about
But
when they're dialed in. I think when they're dialed in, Corey Seager is as good of a hitter as there's in baseball.
Sure, he was.
But I'm running out of names here.
Not a crazy statement.
I'm running out of names. Mike does Mike Trout still get dialed in?
No.
I don't know.
No. So yeah, I just wanted to Riley Greene, even though we just talked about him, we had to give him a couple minutes here because he was that good, and it was really cool to see his parents, especially on the 2 home run night. Mom and dad reacting. That was a lot of fun. Good wholesome baseball in that George Steinbrenner field. Little oxymoron there. All right. Wanted to spend a couple minutes here, Cody, on this Wenceel Perez thing. He had himself a home run today from the right side, and that's his third. He's got 6 on the year, even split. So that's a true switch hitter right there, if there ever was
Huge.
one. And obviously, put them in the lead or whatever. So it was very key in at the time. He nearly missed one early in the game too, like not by much, like from the left side. So the Perez power thing, this 6 home runs in how many at bats does he have? He's got about 70 at bats, and he's got 6 dingers.
Like that.
Was there ever a time, like, over the years you thought, like, yeah, when Perez gets to the major leagues, he's going to have a 70 at-bat stretch where he has 6 home runs, 3 from each side?
Never his MO.
Because here's the thing about Perez that's impressive to me is that he has the same swing, whether it's a ground ball up the middle or a home run in the right center gap. Like he has, and I mean by that where it's like he has the same like easy approach. Like easy swing, like he's never trying to do too much, but he does have a plan. He does attack, and this is a guy that I, a couple of years ago was like, all right, yeah, this is cute or whatever. Yeah, give him credit, man. He's got like he was one of those. I have this thing about switch hitters where I think like if you just are like a tier or 2 below average from one of those sides, I don't consider that advantageous that you're a switch hitter. So I don't think it should be like, oh, it's like, okay, cool. Then he's going to be a third of himself from the right side. But the fact that he's able to kind of hone in on this stuff as a switch right now is actually a real advantageous thing for the Tigers as we worried about coming into this year about them facing left-handed pitching. So I just wanted to make note of that.
Sure, Wenceel Perez has been a game changer for the Tigers since he's been back healthy, especially, like you said, a time where not everyone in your lineup is clicking, at a point where Kerry Bonds has kind of disappeared and, the offense in general fallen back. You need a little help. You know where you've got that from? You've got it from Wenceel Perez. And like you said, like coming into this year, I was like, okay, he can't hit left-handed pitching. Wenceel hit 209 with basically no pop, 594 OPS from the right side against lefties last year. So I was like, okay, he's useful if he replicates what he did against right-handers. Are we sure that's a guarantee? Well, he's continued to hit well against right-handers, and he's talked about making some slight adjustments, just stance angle, foot angle. Now he's bashing lefties too. We'll see like what the numbers end up at the end of the year, but for this month stretch of baseball, Wenceel Perez has been invaluable to keeping your team playing, even when you've had some tough losses and the pitching's been in a rough state and you're cooling off a little bit, keeping your team playing at a first place level overall. I'm not sure it happens without Wenceel and without being able to plug him in from either side of the plate. Yeah,
and I don't know if the numbers back this up, but I do feel he looks like a more comfortable outfielder this year than
he looks like he's been doing it for a while now.
Yeah,
no longer looks as new.
Yeah, exactly. He looks like a ball player out there as opposed to some guy who just kind of got shoved out into right field or center field. So credit to Wenceel there. Speaking of Carpenter. Actually, this is going to be more about Colt Keith, but I want Carpenter to kind of be in in this discussion too, because these were two guys that you were banking on, relying on them for, your left-handed offensive production, not named Riley Greene. And McKinstry, to his credit, has kind of helped alleviate this. Maybe Parker Meadows gets going a little bit with that home run that he had on Sunday, but this is like your core. And we saw Kerry Carpenter get his, time at the top of the lineup when Parker was out, and now Parker's back, and we haven't seen that since. But now Colt is getting leadoff spot opportunities for AJ Hinch. And it got me thinking, I was like, I got to look at these numbers a little bit, because if you're not going to have, there's no reason to not put Kerry Carpenter up at the top of the lineup if you're not going to have Parker there, except for the fact that you could argue Colt Keith is a better hitter right now. In fact, there are statistics that bear that out. They basically have the same batting average. I wrote this down before the game, and they went over, so all the stuff is all the same. Basically the same batting average, just below 250. Colt gets on base, whereas if Kerry does not get a base hit, he more or less is not getting on base. We all know this. So OPS, Colt has a slight edge. OPS plus, Colt 111, Carpenter 105. WRC plus, Colt 112, Carpenter 104. And then no one's going to confuse Colt Keith for a Gold Glover, and give credit to the arm that Kerry Carpenter has, and how that was on display this week. But Colt is a 0.7 WAR player right now, and Carpenter is a 0.4 WAR player on Baseball Reference. So I'm over here, basically I'm like, the pop of Colt hasn't really happened yet, because Kerry Bond stuff. We don't say Colt Bonds or whatever like that. But Colt's having himself actually a pretty solid offensive season, and then you throw in the fact that apparently AJ Hinch has no problem throwing him at third base. We're not going to do it like a scouting report on how he does at third base, but AJ Hinch, when he needs to, will put Colt Keith at either DH or first base or second base or third base. I mean, that's not nothing, Cody. And if you're subscribed on YouTube, you can see we have the graphic comparing the two. The counting numbers favor. Here's what stands out to me: the counting numbers basically all favor Kerry Carpenter, but Kerry Carpenter has 13 home runs to Colt Keith's 6. Yet Carpenter only has 3 more ribbies.
It's interesting.
I find that interesting.
That's interesting. With the batting average about the same, so sounds like Colt's coming through. We don't have the splits with runners in scoring position. We can get a producer on that. But look at the OPS. Look at the OPS plus. Colt Keith, I still think is not getting quite enough credit for what he's doing at the plate. Maybe just because it hasn't necessarily been flashy. But since he kind of broke out of that slump to start the season, he's been very consistent, very good, very consistently. And now we are seeing him more at third base, which, I like, which I think makes a lot of sense. And now it's kind of like, all right, well, how's he going to be as a third baseman? And I think we've seen a mixed bag so far. We've seen him make some plays. It was like, oh, Colt kind of nice over there. And then we've seen some errors. He had just botched a routine play on Sunday. Thinking back, spring, what was it, 23? I remember first day of spring training, watching Colt Keith and Justin Henry Malloy taking grounders at third. And I was like, neither one of these guys are third basemen. I'm sorry. They're just not. Well, I think that was right with Jay Hen. And for a time, it looked right with Colt. And my big thing was just the way he moved. It just didn't seem fluid. It didn't seem quick twitch. But he was able to make it work at second base, and range wasn't necessarily his strength, but he could handle the routine plays. We saw him get a lot better at second last year. Third still tests you more, man. You're going to have some balls smoked your way. You better be sure-handed. You are going to have to react, even if you're not covering as much ground. And then you have to make the throws. The arm strength on StatCast doesn't grade out as anything crazy, but I tend to think Colt Keith has the arm to play third if needed. I don't know that he's going to be a plus defender at third base. I'm also not sure he's going to be Nick Castellanos level atrocious. But we're going to have to see a little more of him over there. I think after not playing there for so long, this has to be like starting over a little bit.
Well, honestly, like whenever he does like make a good play, not saying he's Scott Rowland over there or anything like that, but whenever he makes like a good play, I think sometimes maybe we just overrate. And talk about the Perez thing. Sometimes we just overrate but this guy is just a ball player, man. Like maybe that's a lesson that we should have learned from the Javi Baez experience. What if this guy is just a ball player? I'm looking at the. All right, so here's not going to break down every stat, but you asked about runners in scoring position. Kerry Carpenter batting average 0.98 with runners in scoring position.
Ouch.
And Colt Keith is batting a cool 306 with runners.
That explains that.
there you go. Sometimes things can be rather simple. But anyway, the point of all of this was just that Colt can sometimes be a little bit polarizing, and because he gets the contract and he has a slow start and all that stuff. So it's not necessarily polarizing, but you see where I'm getting at. He is a rather high up there talking point. But I think we don't recognize how much the manager is, relying on him and feels comfortable with using him in a variety of situations and positions. Not for nothing, this guy is still not even 20. He's not 24 yet, and he's got major league starts at second base, third base, and first base when he's not mastered any of them, but they keep yanking him around. And so I give him credit for that and having the attitude with it and all that stuff. So, and we've talked for years about his work ethic and all that stuff that's played out too.
The more we see of Colt Keith, there's just nothing sexy about his game. And I think that's why maybe the perception isn't, I don't know, Carey's kind of entered full hero status because he's had, the homer in the postseason and some other big clutch homers. And Colt hasn't really had those moments yet. And you look like he's not an emotional player, doesn't really exude a lot of smiles or frustration or anything on the field. He kind of just goes about his business, doesn't really make highlight defensive plays. Even as a hitter, he's really good, but it's not I don't know. He just kind of goes about his business, man. He takes his singles. He's not afraid to take some walks here and there. He's got power, but he hasn't quite become that masher that maybe we think of Carey as a little bit more. He's just been a little bit low key, and I think it's totally fine to be a little bit low key, especially when you're being consistent. And that's what he's been since at least the start of May. Yeah,
I agree. I mean, today at third base, I can't remember who the runner was, but he's staying on the base, and you could tell he says something to Colt, and Colt looked back shocked that this person talked to him. He's just, what I mean? That's what you mean, the low key stuff.
Yeah.
He's not there to chit chat or whatever.
I don't think we're going to see Colt mic'd up anytime soon.
Oh man. Yeah. So the little PSA for the ESPN executives for Sunday Night Baseball, probably next week. Probably.
But I think Colt's smart, man. I actually think he's a good conversation if you get him going on the right stuff. He's not necessarily the best small talk guy. And I relate to that. He's just not about the BS. I kind of appreciate that.
Yeah. Not trying to waste energy. I respect it.
Yeah.
I really do. Real quick, because we talked about it so much last episode, Cody, Dennis Santana was given, and if you don't remember that name, that's the pitcher for the Pirates who jumped up and tried to give a left hook to a fan. I don't know if it was a Tigers fan or a Pirates fan. It's mixed reports on that. He was given a 4-game suspension. He did appeal it. I hope they figured out who that fan was and, gave him some sort of ban. So I want to say that off the top, depending on what he said, as long as it fits the crime. And then also people are saying oh, you shouldn't, you can't suspend Santana. You have to suspend a player when he does that. I think Santana, even though he's appealing it, he accepts that as this cannot be a non-punished act. Even if we all believe he's mostly in the right in terms of
Yeah, obviously the league best to set a precedent. You can't go after fans. He's probably lucky he didn't make contact with the fan.
Sure.
But I was a little surprised when it was 4 games. I think because everyone's kind of like, that guy must have really set him off. Like he luckily did not actually make contact with him. He didn't climb over the wall and go in there Ron Artest style. I was like, I thought maybe 1 or 2 games, because you do, unfortunately, just precedent, you have to suspend them. 4 games is a little more steep, but then it's like, well, he did take a swing at a fan. So, like, what do you expect?
Yeah. So, So there has to be a punishment. 4 is definitely on the high end, I think, from what we know about what happened. I'm sure the appeal will probably reduce it to 3, and we'll be on our merry way. And like I said, hopefully that fan, whoever that person was, either learns their lesson or is actually punished. Because we just can't have that. We just can't have that in a civilized society. So, all right, Cody. Anything else before we jet out of here?
No, all good.
All right. Well, you can follow us on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Cody Stavenhagen. I'm at Kieran_Steckley. Pod page is at Tiger Territory _ YouTube, Instagram, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Download, subscribe, rate, review. You guys know what to do. We appreciate all of you. So for Cody Stavenhagen, I'm Kieran Steckley. Everybody have a great day.